Pabalikan natin yan, umiwas tayo dun sa politika. And let's look at the science. And let's look at the finances. At we have to make rational decisions, not based on emotion, not based on some kind of political interest, like what happened in 1986.
Yung sa early 2010s, and we got hit sa exit arbitration. We ended up paying like 1 billion pesos, parang ganun, worth of penalties, lawyers' fees, etc. So question is, how are you gonna encourage investors to, especially foreign investors, which arguably have more money than local investors?
Yeah.
How will you encourage them to go back to the Philippines and not get traumatized by what happened not too long ago?
Well, they explain it very well. When we talk to potential foreign investors, or at least the chambers of commerce na lang dito sa Pilipinas, the EU Chamber of Commerce, American Chamber, the Chinese Chamber. Pag tinanong namin, well, how can we encourage more foreign direct investment? And by the way, the issues that the potential foreign investors raise, why they do not come in with as much investment as they do, are the same issues that are raised by local potential investors. It is remarkable, talagang halos pareho. And the number one issue is power. That always seems to be
Kuryente?
Kuryente. The price of power, the availability of power, the reliability of power. Ganun lang kasimple. And one of the areas that it impacts very, very strongly is the area of manufacturing. Kaya medyo mahina na manufacturing natin ngayon. Power has a very, very, very large part to play with that. So that's one thing that we have to talk about. There is also the issue of ownership. Maraming umiikot that maraming nagsasabi that kailangan natin balikan ang saligang batas at palitan natin yung mga ownership na requirement, which is still, I think, up for debate. Yung corporate ownership, medyo baka pwede na natin gawin yan dahil talagang we are missing many opportunities. And again, because we are very much a global economy. So maybe that is something that we can adjust to. The ownership of land is a much more difficult situation. But nonetheless, these are the issues that they bring up. The other issue that is brought up is something called legislative guarantees. In other words, the rules do not change in the middle of the game. And these contracts that have been perfected suddenly get canceled. That the terms of an agreement suddenly change. Yung mga ganong klase, baka may papasa ng batas, hindi na viable yung kanilang project for whatever reason. Those are the systemic things that we can address as a government. Napapag-usapan natin was the lack of the supply ng energy. Kahit na masikaso natin, magawa natin ng solusyon yung presyo, kulang pa rin ang supply ng power. So we have to explore all of the possible power potentials for power generation. And now, with the concern that we all should be showing for climate change and global warming, and considering that the Philippines is one of the most vulnerable when it comes to of all the countries when it comes to global warming, we have to do our part. So we have to start the shift to renewables, and malaki ang potential dyan. Because I'm familiar with the wind power and the economics of it. Ngayon, meron na tayo, the technology continues to improve. Meron na tayo malaki ang potential ng solar, especially for the Philippines. Kasi ang wind power, namimili yan eh. Hindi naman kahit very site-specific. Kung sabihin, very site-specific yan. It has to be in a very distinct, the air has to have, the wind has to have a very distinct quality to it, na hindi just basta malakas ang hangin, hindi ibig sabihin maglalagay ng windmill. Ngunit ang solar na naiba sa Pilipinas, kahit saan mo ilagay pwede. dahil malakas ang we're a tropical country, marami tayong sun na araw sa taon na malakas ang araw. So that's going to be great potential. Marami pa tayong pwedeng gawin sa geothermal, pwede natin i-expand pa yan. Our hydroelectric, pwede pa rin i-expand yan, which are essentially, you can consider them still renewables. So we're still working on the mix between the renewables and the traditional. Why do we still have to have the traditional? Number one, because the renewables still do not produce enough power to cover the demand. And secondly, there is a very specific requirement and power supply for the base load, ang tinatawag na base load. And kahit hindi umiihip ang hangin, kahit hindi walang tao, kailangan pa rin yung masatisfy yung base load na yan. That is why we still have to go to look at traditional sources, oil-fired plants. And pag-usapan na rin natin yung nuclear. Because let us look at the experience of other countries. Now, madalas mabanggit ngayon yung Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. And kung pwede pa daw, well, baka naman pwede pa. Baka maaari pa natin balikan, baka magamit pa natin yan. Eh, laki-laki ng binabayad natin. Sayang naman kung hindi magamit. But the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant was supposed to come online in 1986.
Chernobyl rin, di ba?
Ang nangyari, naging political issue yan. Kung mabalikan natin yan, umiwas tayo dun sa politika. And let's look at the science. And let's look at the finances. At we have to make rational decisions, not based on emotion, not based on some kind of political interest, like what happened in 1986.
How would you characterize your prospective foreign policy? Will it be anti or pro-China, anti or pro-US? Could you give us a better idea?
Pro-Philippines. I have always said that. Obsolete na yan, thinking na yan, yung ganyan, areas of, yung Cold War, that's the Cold War thinking, spheres of influence. Wala na, hindi na ganun ngayon eh. Because although the geographic location of the Philippines is still critical for both countries, I don't think we can say that each country is either aligned with the Soviet Union or with the United States, like that was the old formula during the Cold War. Wala na ngayon yun. We deal with them on a different basis. We deal with them on economic basis, on a cultural basis, educational basis. Now with China, we have these conflicts between we have conflicting claims in the West Philippine Sea, which have to be attended to on a bilateral basis with China. But of course, the United States feels that they have an interest in it, because as a geopolitical power, they in fact do. So that's the place that we find ourselves. Swerte tayo in a way, because we are strategically important because of our geographic location, but at the same time, it's not so lucky because we are in a very precarious position. So we have to be very careful to walk the thin line. I guess you could say between China and the United States. Now, when asked, are you pro-Philippines? Are you pro-China, pro-US? I go, well, it's very simple in my mind. I don't work for Washington, D.C. I don't work for Beijing. I work for the Philippines. So what is in the national interest of the Philippines? Yun lang naman ang dapat nating isipin. Yun ay paglaban natin. Now, there will be conflicting interests, but we still have to make our stand. Like with China, we have started to go apart in terms of our modus vivendi with China. Once we filed the case in the for adjudication.
Yeah.
And then to stick with the result of the adjudication, that was which is not an adjudication because there was only one party. China was not involved. And they had declared for the very start that hindi nila i-honor kung ano.
You mean arbitration, yung sa PCA?
Yung arbitration, no. Hindi nila dahil hindi sila signatory, hindi naman sila kailangan sumunod. So mula pa sa umpisa, kahit anong mangyari doon sa arbitration, hindi magbabago. Ang nagbago dahil pag yung dalawang kaibigan na nagkatampuhan, pero nag-hire yung isa ng abogado, dinala mo na sa court, iba ng usapan yan. So mag-harden nag-harden ng positions, both the Philippines and then consequently China. So that's something we have to work back. We slowly work our way back. We continue to have a special relationship with the United States. Hindi talaga mawawala yan. We cannot forget that the United States came and went to war for the Philippines. Hindi natin makakalimutan yan at hindi natin dapat kalimutan yan. And that special relationship will stand us in good stead when magkakaroon na itong mga conflicts na sinasabi natin.
Alright. Well, nasabi mo na lang din pro-Philippines. Tapos, ang tawag sa partido mo ngayon, unit team.
Yes.
Bakit, pa-recall nga lang sir, bakit ba unit team?
Dahil talagang ang aming mensahe is pagkakaisa. And nagkataon pa that we were able, that we have a very good symbol of unity. Dahil tiga Norte ko, tiga Mindanao si Inday Sara, pinagsama natin, that is a good symbol of unity. And really, when I sa paano natin aayusin itong paano natin, ano sasabihin ko sa tao na ito yung plano ko para aayusin natin yung problema ng Pilipinas pagkatapos ng COVID or during COVID and then after COVID. And you look at the history of the Philippines, the only time lahat naman ng crisis na hinarap natin, nag-survive lang tayo kasi nagtulungan tayo nagtutulungan ng kapwa Pilipino. That's the only way. But we have to present to people, we have to make a way to show people that there is a good plan, that there is a way to get from here to where we want to be. And this is the part that you need to play in that. We need you, we need everybody here. And that is my idea. We need everybody to pitch in to help. And but you have to give people a very specific plan, which is the policies of which we will start to enumerate in the coming weeks, so that people will understand. Ito yung mga kailangan gawin. Ito yung dito ang aking dito ako pwedeng tumulong at tutulong sila para pagandahin ang Pilipinas. And that's why unity, pagkakaisa, yun ang aming laging isinisigaw dahil talaga yun ang magiging basehan. Pagka nag-aaway pa tayo, sabihin natin, nag-aaway yung mga Tagalog at saka yung mga Bicolano, nag-aaway yung mga Bisaya at saka yung mga Ilocano, yung Kapampangan at saka yung mga tiga Mindanao, walang mangyayari sa atin. Kailangan talaga, but again, hindi lang sasabihin, oy, tumulong kayo. Sasabihin, ito yung kailangan namin sa inyo, baka kaya ninyong gawin. Ito kailangan niyo. Kasi meron tayong sinusubukan, meron tayong gustong gawin, paaabutin natin dyan sa lugar na yan, dyan sa state, and we will paadating ganyan sa sitwasyon na yan. Yan ang kailangan na natin gawin. And ang Pilipino naman, mahal naman talaga ng Pilipino ang Pilipinas eh. At nasa ugali talaga natin na magmahal ng kapwa Pilipino eh. Kaya pag ipaliwanag natin na mabuti, palagay ko may engganyo naman natin ng ating mga kababayan na to be part of this tawag ko na nga kilusan ng pagkakaisa. At mula doon ay pwede na nating simulaan ang pagpapasigla ng ekonomiya natin, ng lipunan natin at para pagandahin naman ang buhay ng ating mga kababayan.